Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A slight indication. A just detectable amount. A hint, mockery in her manner. Drop a hint. Intimate by a hint. A slight but appreciable amount. An indirect suggestion. An indication of potential opportunity. A slight indication. Roll into a ball. Evidence that helps to solve a problem. A proposal offered for acceptance or rejection. It was a suggestion we couldn't refuse. Persuasion formulated as a suggestion. The act of inducing hypnosis. A just detectable amount. An idea that is suggested. The picnic was her suggestion. The sequential mental process in which one thought leads to another by association. A quality of a given color that differs slightly from another color. A dye for coloring the hair. A just detectable amount. A tint of glamour. Color lightly. To go back over again. We retraced the route we took last summer. A suggestion of some quality. A just detectable amount. He speaks French with a trace of an accent. Make a mark or lines on a surface. Trace the outline of a figure in the sand. Pursue or chase relentlessly. The hunters trace the deer into the woods. An indication that something has been present. There wasn't a trace of evidence for the claim. Follow, discover, or ascertain the course of development of something. Trace the student's progress. Read with difficulty. The archaeologist traced the hieroglyphs. A drawing created by superimposing a semi-transparent sheet of paper on the original image and copying on it the lines of the original image. A visible mark, as a footprint, left by the passage of person or animal or vehicle. Copy by following the lines of the original drawing on a transparent sheet placed upon it. Make a tracing of. Trace a design. Discover traces of. She traced the circumstances of her birth. Either of two lines that connect a horse's harness to a wagon or other vehicle or to a whiffletree. Make one's course or travel along a path. Travel or pass over, around, or along. The children traced along the edge of the dark forest. Make a proposal. Declare a plan for something. Call to mind. Drop a hint. Intimate by a hint. Imply as a possibility. The evidence suggests a need for more clarification. A slight but appreciable amount. Write briefly or hurriedly. Write a short note of. A brief, and hurriedly handwritten, note. A slight but appreciable amount. Any of numerous very small to minute arachnids often infesting animals or plants or stored foods. Irritate as if by a nip, pinch, or tear. The pain is as if sharp points pinch your back. Make off with belongings of others. Cut the top off. A sudden unforeseen crisis, usually involving danger, that requires immediate action. A slight but appreciable amount. Make ridges into by pinching together. The act of apprehending, especially apprehending a criminal. A small sharp bite or snip. A squeeze with the fingers. Squeeze tightly between the fingers. He pinched her behind. An injury resulting from getting some body part squeezed. A painful or straitened circumstance. The pinch of the recession. A slight but appreciable amount. Non-technical usage, a tiny piece of anything. A very small spot. The plane was just a speck in the sky. A slight but appreciable amount. Produce specks in or on. Speck the cloth. A slight but appreciable amount. Effect as in thought or feeling. The sadness tinged his life. Color lightly. Her graying hair was tinged blonde. A pale or subdued color. A distinguishing style. This room needs a woman's touch. Make a more or less disguised reference to. Consume. She didn't touch her food all night. The event of something coming in contact with the body. He longed for the touch of her hand. Be relevant to. A suggestion of some quality. There was a touch of sarcasm in his tone. Have an effect upon. The act of putting two things together with no space between them. At his touch the room filled with lights. Be equal to in quality or ability. Your performance doesn't even touch that of your colleagues. A communicative interaction. He got in touch with his colleagues. A slight attack of illness. He has a touch of rheumatism. Affect emotionally. I was touched by your kind letter of sympathy. The faculty by which external objects or forces are perceived through contact with the body, especially the hands. Only sight and touch enable us to locate objects in the space around us. Tamper with. Don't touch my CDs. To extend as far as. The chair must not touch the wall. A slight but appreciable amount. This dish could use a touch of garlic. Be in direct physical contact with. Make contact. The two buildings touch. The sensation produced by pressure receptors in the skin. She likes the touch of silk on her skin. Color lightly. Cause to be in brief contact with. He touched his toes to the horse's flanks. Comprehend. He could not touch the meaning of the poem. Deal with. Usually used with a form of negation. I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. Deftness in handling matters. He has a master's touch. Make physical contact with. Come in contact with. She never touched her husband. Perceive via the tactile sense. Helen Keller felt the physical world by touching people and objects around her. The act of soliciting money, as a gift or loan. He watched the beggar trying to make a touch. The feel of mechanical action. This piano has a wonderful touch. A short respite. An indirect suggestion. Not a breath of scandal ever touched her. A slight movement of the air. There wasn't a breath of air in the room. The air that is inhaled and exhaled in respiration. His sour breath offended her. The process of taking in and expelling air during breathing. He took a deep breath and dived into the pool. A slight suggestion or vague understanding. An indirect suggestion. An indication of potential opportunity. Be in charge of. The introductory section of a story. It was an amusing lead-in to a very serious matter. Take somebody somewhere. We lead him to our chief. Produce as a result or residue. Be conducive to. The use of computers in the classroom lead to better writing. Lead, as in the performance of a composition. A jumper that consists of a short piece of wire. It was a tangle of jumper cables and clip leads. A news story of major importance. Travel in front of. Go in advance of others. Lead, extend, or afford access. Move ahead of others, in time or space. Preside over. A soft, heavy, toxic, malleable metallic element. Bluish-white when freshly cut but tarnishes readily to dull gray. The children were playing with lead soldiers. Cause something to pass or lead somewhere. Stretch out over a distance, space, time, or scope. Run or extend between 2 points or beyond a certain point. Be ahead of others. Be the first. An actor who plays a principal role. Evidence pointing to a possible solution. The police are following a promising lead. Thin strip of metal used to separate lines of type in printing. Restraint consisting of a rope, or light chain, used to restrain an animal. The timing of ignition relative to the position of the piston in an internal combustion engine. An indication of potential opportunity. A good lead for a job. Mixture of graphite with clay in different degrees of hardness. The marking substance in a pencil. An advantage held by a competitor in a race. He took the lead at the last turn. A position of being the initiator of something and an example that others will follow, especially in the phrase, take the lead. He takes the lead in any group. Baseball. The position taken by a base runner preparing to advance to the next base. He took a long lead off first. Cause to undertake a certain action. Sports. The score by which a team or individual is winning. Tend to or result in. This remark lead to further arguments among the guests. The angle between the direction a gun is aimed and the position of a moving target, correcting for the flight time of the missile. The playing of a card to start a trick in bridge. The lead was in the dummy. Castrated bull. Be a guiding or motivating force or drive. The teacher steered the gifted students towards the more challenging courses. Direct the course. Determine the direction of traveling. An indication of potential opportunity. Direct oneself somewhere. AV shape. Give a tip or gratuity to in return for a service, beyond the compensation agreed on. Remember to tip the waiter. Give insider information or advise to. He tipped off the police about the terrorist plot. Cause to topple or tumble by pushing. The top or extreme point of something, usually a mountain or hill. They clambered to the tip of Monadnock. Walk on one's toes. To incline or bend from a vertical position. Strike lightly. A relatively small amount of money given for services rendered, as by a waiter. An indication of potential opportunity. He got a tip on the stock market. Cause to tilt. Tip the screen upward. Mark with a tip. Tip the arrow with the small stone. Remove the tip from. Tip artichokes. The extreme end of something, especially something pointed. Raise or haul up with or as if with mechanical help. Catch the scent of. Get wind of. A reflex that expels intestinal gas through the anus. Form into a wreath. Empty rhetoric or insincere or exaggerated talk. That's a lot of wind. Arrange or coil around. To move or cause to move in a sinuous, spiral, or circular course. The river winds through the hills. Extend in curves and turns. The road winds around the lake. The act of winding or twisting. He put the key in the old clock and gave it a good wind. A musical instrument in which the sound is produced by an enclosed column of air that is moved by bellows or the human breath. Air moving, sometimes with considerable force, from an area of high pressure to an area of low pressure. Trees bent under the fierce winds. Coil the spring of some mechanical device by turning a stem. Wind your watch. An indication of potential opportunity. A tendency or force that influences events. The winds of change. Breath. The collision knocked the wind out of him. Something that serves to indicate or suggest. Symptoms are the prime indicants of disease. A number or ratio, a value on a scale of measurement, derived from a series of observed facts, can reveal relative changes as a function of time. Something that serves to indicate or suggest. An indication of foul play. A datum about some physical state that is presented to a user by a meter or similar instrument. The barometer gave clear indications of an approaching storm. The act of indicating or pointing out by name. Medicine. A reason to prescribe a drug or perform a procedure. The presence of bacterial infection was an indication for the use of antibiotics. Something, as a course of action, that is indicated as expedient or necessary. There were indications that it was time to leave. An indefinite quantity that is below average size or magnitude. An indefinite quantity that is below average size or magnitude. Transmit or serve as the medium for transmission. Serve as a means for expressing something. Take something or somebody with oneself somewhere. Go or come after and bring or take back. Transfer to another. Of information, make known, pass on. She conveyed the message to me. Transmit a title or property. A proposal offered for acceptance or rejection. The act of making a proposal. An offer for a private bargain, especially a request for sexual favors. A task to be dealt with. Securing adequate funding is a time-consuming proposition. Logic. A statement that affirms or denies something and is either true or false. Suggest sex to. She was propositioned by a stranger at the party. A proposal offered for acceptance or rejection. Present for acceptance or rejection. The act of setting and holding a course. A new council was installed under the direction of the king. The concentration of attention or energy on something. He had no direction in his life. The act of managing something. Is the direction of the economy a function of government? A line leading to a place or point. He looked the other direction. A formal statement of a command or injunction to do something. Something that provides direction or advice as to a decision or course of action. A message describing how something is to be done. He gave directions faster than she could follow them. A general course along which something has a tendency to develop. I couldn't follow the direction of his thoughts. The spatial relation between something and the course along which it points or moves. He checked the direction and velocity of the wind. The act of setting and holding a course. The act of guiding or showing the way. Something that provides direction or advice as to a decision or course of action. A lawyer who pleads cases in court. Give advice to. The teacher counsels troubled students. Something that provides direction or advice as to a decision or course of action. Something that provides direction or advice as to a decision or course of action.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.